Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Oforto, and welcome to today's edition of Sunrise. You're tuned into Sunrise on ANEKE TV, where every sunrise begins with delightfulness. And of course, bringing you today's daily dose of brightness. I am Deborah Wakoba, coming to you live from our studio here in Vibrant Nogo.
And good morning to you, our global audience. I'm Uche Ossai. Wherever you are, at home, in your office, or in traffic, thank you for letting us into your space this beautiful morning. We're here to refresh, inform, and motivate. And of course, thank God it's Friday.
Yes, thank God it's Friday.
You're
It's the
looking like it's
weekend.
weekend already.
Yes,
Can
I
see you
am.
in Akara. Yeah,
Of course.
that's wonderful.
Yes. Okay, and today is Friday, 30th January 2026. As the month is rounding up today, we we have a power-packed morning for you today here on Sunrise, where we've got our latest news, what's trending, our weather report, and of course that special sunrise vibe to help us start our day.
So, relax, grab that cup of coffee or tea, enjoy the ride, because the sunrise is here.
Yes, and on Sunrise today, we'll be beginning things off with our quote of the day with words that are thoughtful, words that are inspiring, words that are insightful, that offers insight to whatever we do.
Then, it's straight into the day's top headlines. All the key news updates that you need to remain informed will be shared, hot, debated, and of course, tested.
Yeah, and after that, we'll be giving you our full weather forecast for today, covering cities across the southeast and beyond. So you'd know what to expect before you step out. Or if you've stepped out already, it is to keep you throughout the rest of the day.
And let us wrap things up by bringing to you the man of many parts, the sports oracle, the mental mechanic, the commissioner of plenty enjoyment.
Yes, and now moving over to our inspiration segment, our quote of the day. Now, our quote of today is coming from Chinua Achebe, and in his quote it says, "Our vision of a new Nigeria must be one that is inclusive, where every citizen feels a sense of belonging and has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background." I'm going to take the quote again coming from Chino Achebe that says, "Our vision of a new Nigeria must be one that is inclusive, where every citizen feels a sense of belonging and has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background." Chino Achebe is saying that a truly new Nigeria can only succeed if no one is left out. The quote emphasizes on inclusion, fairness, and equal opportunity. A nation where ethnicity, religion, gender, or social class does not determine a person's worth or chances in life. So, in simple terms, Achebe argues that national progress is not just about development or power, but about making every citizen feel seen, valued, and able to succeed. So, when people feel they belong, they are more likely to contribute positively to their country's growth. Mr. Uche, I would like to know your own thoughts on this quote from Chinua Achebe.
All right. First of all, seeing this quote, I look at it with a sense of pride to know that Chinua Achebe, is equally a patriotic Nigerian. He's not just an academic giant, but one who is very, very patriotic and is very much enamored to the ideal of a Nigeria that would work for everybody. And he speaks to citizenship, Nigeria realizing that all her people are just all but citizens, that no Nigerian is more Nigerian than any other. And he tells us that for us to thrive as a people, that we have to, look at who we are, first of all, as Nigerians, and not look at our background, look at our tongue, look at religion, or look at where one comes from. That no Nigerian is more Nigerian than any other. That for us to make progress, we will realize that all of us come from the womb of the of one mother, Nigeria, and we don't have to give opportunity, according to tribe, but we'll make opportunities available due to the one's qualification or merit, that everything should be on meritocracy. There shouldn't be such words as nepotism, ethnicism, corruption shouldn't be a thing. That we can only thrive when we unite as a people. That our diversity, is what makes us different and strong. That as a nation, when we get to say indeed that we are a nation, we should see ourselves as Nigerians, not a nation of many tribes, no, but a nation built and that it emanates from the womb of Nigeria. And we should take a cue, for example, from the Kenyans who don't see themselves as Tutsis or Hutsis, but rather they see themselves, first of all, as Kenyans. And that's the only way that we can begin to make progress as a people. Let's not look at our differences. Let's look at each and every one of us as having the same red blood. No one of us, when pierced, or when you take out the blood from their veins, you see their blood with different color. It's all one color, and we are one before God and man, and as such should treat ourselves the same way. And when Achebe, when I look at this again, I remember, that the same Achebe was a man, who was courageous enough at a time when the nation wanted to reward him under the then government of a sitting president of Obasanjo. And he had to write a lengthy letter, you know, to reject such an honor, lending credence to his patriotism on why Nigeria has to work. So when he tells us that our vision of a new Nigeria must be one that is inclusive, where every citizen feels a sense of belonging and has the opportunity to thrive regardless of background. And you now realize is that, yeah, Achebe, is speaking from a standpoint of a nation that has gone to war, and after the war, was said to have set a policy of the 3 R's of reconstruction, of inclusivity. And the question now is, how did we achieve that 3 R's as we had marshaled them, to make progress as a people? Have we come out from the ruins of that war, or do we still look at ourselves as people who fought on different sides rather than seeing and embracing one another as Nigerians? And that's what Chinua Achebe is about this morning. That new Nigeria can only thrive when we embrace one another, irrespective of divide. It doesn't have to mean that this one comes across the Niger or this other person is from the Sahel or from the north. No, we are Nigerians. And until then, when we realize this, that we can thrive as a nation.
All right, thank you very much. So as to go about our day today, let us keep this quote in mind coming from Chinua Achebe, that our vision of a new Nigeria must be one that is inclusive, where every citizen feels a sense of belonging and has the opportunity to thrive regardless of the background. And also let us know what this quote means, so you can drop your thoughts on across our social media handles across Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or ANEKE TV. And up next is our weather report for today.
Yes, we'll take a look at the weather across major cities in the southeast today.
Good morning, Orca. Expect a warm morning with clouds giving way to hazy sunshine later in the day. Afternoon temperatures will climb into the high 30s degrees Celsius, so it's light clothing all the way.
And good morning, the coast city. Welcome to the city of Enugu. Mostly cloudy this morning. Then the sun peeks through with very hot conditions by afternoon. Temperatures could reach around 38 degrees Celsius. Please take it easy outdoors.
Yes, and in Abakaliki, it's a bright and hazy day ahead with strong sunshine and high heat. Daytime temperatures stay in the upper 30 degrees Celsius. Hydration is your best friend today.
And good morning, Imo State. Welcome to my driving city of Owerri. Warm start, then sunshine with haze dominating the afternoon. It's going to feel quite hot, especially after midday, so avoid prolonged sun exposure.
And in Umahia, partly cloudy with sunshine breaking through later. Expect hot afternoon temperatures similar to the rest of the region.
So, wherever you are in the southeast today, stay safe, stay cool, dress light, but do remember that either rain or shine, we've got you covered. And this is your weather report here on Sunrise on ANEKE TV. We'll go on a short break and we'll return with more updates.
Need advert placements, coverage for events, or the latest news stories? Call 070 30437110 right now. ANEKE TV, move with the world. In a world that never stands still, where stories break in seconds and moments shape history, one station keeps you connected to your nation, to the continent, to the world.
From breaking news to powerful stories, from business and politics to culture, lifestyle and entertainment, we inform, we inspire, we keep you ahead.
This is more than television. This is your window to everywhere that matters.
ANEKE TV. Move with the world.
You're watching Sunrise on ANEKE TV. Now we'll be taking a look at our newspaper today from The Nation, Punch, Vanguard and The Guardian newspaper.
And joining us this morning is Mr. Res Arum, our in-house analyst. Mr. Res, it's a pleasure to see you this morning.
Thank you for having me today.
And how is Nigeria treating you?
Well, fair. It has always been like that all through. Nigeria is Nigeria, and the factors therein are being meted on everybody.
All right, and I was going to ask maybe, perhaps I'm opening the interview session before the listings, and how do you still manage to remain patriotic?
Well, patriotism is a virtue. If you love your country, you must be patriotic. You must work towards ensuring that your country gets great at all times and do things the right way. Love your country. That is patriotism.
Okay, so for you, it is about what you will give your country and not what your country will give you.
Of course, it's about what I'll give my country. And of course, I am, through what I can do, I am contributing to my quota towards making my country great.
All right. And also with us this morning is the man of many parts, the man that prides himself as a mental mechanic, the sports oracle, Mr. Goodhope. It's also a pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. And with your cap, I don't know, you're looking Nigerian.
Yes, of course. I'm a good citizen of a great nation.
It's left for us to determine if you are a good citizen. After all, not for you to tell us that you're a good citizen.
Okay.
And at times we measure those who are good citizens on how they give us some of the donuts and the enjoyment, which don't seem to get to us. Maybe you only share it during the hype zone or entertainment.
Yes, of course. I'm ready.
It's all right. It's a pleasure to see you this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much once again. Now moving over to our newspapers for today, starting from The Nation, where the headline says, Senate takes steps to fast-track Electoral Act 2022 amendment. And on the Point headline says, Federal government's 9 trillion naira domestic loan surge drains lifeline from businesses. And on the Vanguard paper, the Vanguard headline reads, petrol to cost more as crude oil price rises further. And on the Guardian headline says how universities must produce research without solutions to societal ills. And from the Punch headline, we'll be taking our newspaper review today that says, from the Punch headline, federal government's 9 trillion naira domestic loan surge drains lifeline from businesses. The federal government's 9 trillion naira surge in domestic borrowing is raising fresh concerns in the business community. Analysts warn that heavy government borrowing from local banks is crowding out private businesses, making loans more expensive and harder to access. Small and medium-scale enterprises, already battling high operating costs, may find it even tougher to survive as credit dries up. Mr. Uche, I'd like to know your thoughts.
All right. When a lot of times when we speak to these issues, it doesn't come from a place of just criticism that will hate maybe the government, in power or the people who are the helm of affairs at the moment. When we speak, it comes from a place of patriotism on how do we move our nation forward. A number of times we raise issues around our dependence on a monolithic economy rather than a diversified economy that can sustain itself on production, productivity, and all that. And a number of times you see that when the world trends begin to affect that very single product, it has a lot of impact on the economy. And over time, since the coming of this administration, they've promised and they are pledging to do everything to move us away from dependence on oil. And again, you've seen issues around subsidy removal as well. But it now becomes obvious that given the trend of things, that the government, a number of times has to look for means to keep the economy running. And one of the measures they've resorted to, apart from moving to foreign borrowing, now comes down to the local market, where they go after to take from the existing credit available from the local lenders, the banks and the rest of them. And this, there's no doubt, when I listen to you read, will bring a lot of pressure on the banking sector that no longer has that capacity to sustain government demands, because by the numbers that we're getting, we have about 9.19 trillion only exposure to the government. And when you check data available within that period as well, you see that what is available to the to the private sector is shrinking, and the data equally shows that is gone way below to 1.50 something trillion, 1.500 something trillion in the period under comparison. But this morning, I would rather move to Mr. Rez for his in-depth opinion on this issue. Mr. Rez, we're seeing a situation where the government seems to be the highest borrower in Nigeria at the moment, giving pressure to the financial institution that we are meant to service the productive sector. A lot of time when we talk about the private sector, let's look at the productive sector. A Nigeria that has the need to improve the manufacturing sector a lot, and then we're seeing that pressure coming from the financial institution that they can no longer meet such obligation, and you're seeing the private sector now, enamored with how to repay existing debt due to high interest rates. Mr. Rice.
Well, federal government has become the highest domestic borrower in Nigeria through bonds, treasury bills, and all that from financial institutions. And when they borrow these huge sums, like we have about 9.something trillion in 2025, it means there are no available resources for the private sector to take credits to expand their business, to put up industries and do all manner of things to grow the economy. You see, the federal government, when they take that kind of money, they are now putting pressure on that, even with the high interest rate, because they can possibly pay when the time comes. Through treasury bills and bonds from banks and all that, that the interest is still high, they will still pay back. But at the same time, the business community is suffering because they don't have access to funds. And they cannot go to the international community to borrow. It's only government that can afford to go to the international community and borrow. So it means you are at the same time, putting pressure on economic activities in the country, because you want to fund your budget, because this borrowing sometimes fund budget, domestic activities, put up recurrent expenditure and all that, so that they will not run into budget deficit. So they borrow these monies to do the activities, but at the same time too, it has a negative effect on the private sector. The private sector cannot survive without enough funding from financial institutions.
Yes, now that you're talking about the private sector not being able to survive without support from the financial institutions, now I need to ask, what is the real implication of this for the Nigerian economy? And again, why is it that our government is now no longer, very more interested in foreign loans as to compare to what we witnessed pre 1999, in 1999, and the successive governments after all. Now, the emphasis really is borrowing from within.
When you talk about taking foreign loans, uh, the problem of loan servicing in the international community is quite high. Servicing these loans drags the government, down. It takes a whole lot of money. The rate is compound and all that. These are things that will make the government on the economy. It brings the borrowing internally, where they are now emphasize on borrowing internally. That's within Nigeria. It makes brings about a downturn on the economy of the nation. Why? Why and how does it bring a downturn in the economy? Is that the private sector businesses lack funds to grow. It lacks funds to create further jobs. That is for expansion. Companies expand and take more people. And these are some of the things they do to help government ensuring that the economy has a boost. Because a state where there is unemployment is doomed, because there will be a lot of problems, which range from security to other social, vices. Therefore, there's no way the government of the day will continue to borrow domestically and it will not tell on the economy. And there's no way they even go out to borrow. Well, borrow in the international community under single digit helps, but with the compound interest associated with that borrowing, it makes it huge sum of money. You remember, during the Obasanjo administration, we had to plead to Paris Club to forgive our debt because we had paid more than even the money we borrowed on interest alone. More than the money we borrowed, we have paid more than that so many times. So we now began to beg the Paris Club for some kind of forgiveness, to forgive our debts. And at the end of the day, Obasanjo secured some, but it was not all over, because our domestic and international debts are still on the high side. If you go to debt management office, they will tell you that they use huge sums of money to, manage these debts annually.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
All right, thank you very much. Now moving over to our next paper for today, coming from the Vanguard newspaper, where the headline says petrol to cost more as crude oil price rises further. Motorists should brace for another possible increase in petrol prices as global crude oil prices continue their upward climb, with Nigeria still relying heavily on imported fuel and foreign exchange pressures. And also, persistent industry watchers say rising crude prices could soon translate to higher phone prices, adding more strain to household budgets. Mr. Oshie.
All right. Mr. Reza, I'll bring you quite right into this conversation, because a lot of analysts, always call this a sorry situation, being that Nigeria is a big player in the oil sector when it comes to crude manufacturing. But at the end of the day, we are dependent heavily on the importation of the very resources that we give out to other nations. Mr. Reza.
Okay, you see, when America went and took the president of Venezuela, there were some important issues they were after, and they were after trying to make the oil come down, crude oil come down at $50 per, $50 per drum. Yes. But at the end of the day, it has not succeeded yet. And we were skeptical that the Nigerian budget will we have to go run into deficit because we pegged our budget at $60 per barrel. $50 per barrel. Now, the oil prices have started going higher. I had earlier predicted that a situation where one of the greatest oil producers, crude oil producers in the whole world, when they have problems like that, America is having with Venezuela, that it could, result in a skyrocketing of crude prices worldwide. And here it is presently, which means the skepticism shown by analysts that Nigeria will run some kind of deficit to about $10 billion is no longer, more realizable because we're already in 2026 and the budget probably may have started running or is going to start running, but oil prices are going high. Now, the influence of petroleum products coming into Nigeria. You know that as crude oil producers, we export. Our refineries are not working. And even if our refineries are working, the refineries get this crude oil at the international prices. Yes. They do the recording, they get it at the international prices, that is at the dollar. So it is not about refining the oil in Nigeria. It will make it cheaper. Yes, it may make it cheaper because they will get it and get the supply straight. The accrued high price of petroleum products is as a result of one you load, one you ship, one you freight, one you go to the place where the refineries are done, you now get it back. So all these expenses on top of these refined products, it tends to, show on the prices of these products. That is why as importers of petroleum products and as dependent on petroleum importation, we are suffering high prices. So if Nigeria possibly may sell at normal rate to our refineries, then the idea of shipping, the freight, offloading, insurance, and all that are not put on, and then the re-importing them are not put on top of it. Just take it from wherever it is to the refineries and refine it. It of course, it will be gotten at a cheaper price. But it cannot be because we are dependent on importation. And the importation is that some people are making huge sums of money. Remember the subsidy regime. A lot of crude ways that the government was paying subsidy, yet it did not bring down oil prices. At the end of the day, they have removed subsidy. Yet, nothing has happened. Even the money that accrue to this removal of subsidy, which government had said over time, we're going to have plenty of money, we're going to save, we're going to do that. Yet, the government is borrowing because even the money is not saved and it is not even enough to take care of the problems in Nigeria. And the worst of it all is that I wonder if these monies are put into judicious use at the end of the day. Where are these monies? Where are the crude subsidy removal monies? Well, that's the question we must continue to ask the government if they go about borrowing again. And if they are borrowing and sinking money into the power sector, where is the power? They are sinking money into the agri sector. Where are the rice and beans? And where are the finished products that are being converted into export goods that Nigeria should have been earning from, and all that? So there are so many questions to be asked.
All right. But now that we are seeing that the prices of crude, is rising, are we going to see less dependence on borrowing, especially from the local lenders?
That is exactly the question I'm asking. We are supposed to have even a budget surplus because our budget will be met. with extra dollars. But at the end of the day, you still find out that there's one problem or the other. There are, extra budgets, supplementary budgets here and there by the state, by the states and by the nation. So you now ask the question, all the monies that Nigeria must have gotten from this excess money from crude, where's the money? Because we use so much money in debt management services. So money that we should have used and plunged into productive areas and things like that, we use it in servicing debts.
All right, Mr. S, moving forward, now you did mention that yes, even though we have some local refineries in Nigeria, speak to Dangote, for example, that will give them, will sell this crude to them at the international price range. And I want to ask, given the fact that the refineries, I mean the Nigeria-owned refineries, are not working, what's the way forward to see that we bring the prices of these products down to be affordable for the common man? But before you take that very question, sorry, we'll go on a short break.
Current Affairs program, where politics, development, and governance come alive. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we host top professionals and thought leaders who speak their minds on issues shaping Nigeria and the world. It's inclusive, enriching, and absolutely captivating.
The roadmap is let's have our environment secured so that investors can come.
If you don't know what economic security is, kidnapping will tell you what it is. You kidnap your ransom.
Customers are going to get these meters, and like we said, it's at no cost.
There are things that dialogue can handle. But when you leave it, you want to use a kinetic approach alone. You cannot.
For discussions that promise insight and deliver truth, stay tuned, stay informed, and keep watching Arena, only on ANEKE TV.
Thank you for staying with us. And Mr. S, before we went on that break, I was saying that when you were talking, you did mention that yes, Nigeria being a crude oil producer, and we have some local refineries, speaking to Dangote refinery, that at the end of the day, because they get this crude at the international rate, that they will have to sell bearing that cost in mind. And we are seeing, given the high rising cost of crude, all over the world, that the price of petroleum products will have to, go high. And I'm asking, Nigeria has refineries that are not working. What is the way forward for us to see that the price of petroleum is made affordable for the common man in Nigeria?
Well, it has always been my stand. It has always been my position that these Nigeria-owned refineries should be privatized and handed over to very good managers. In fact, over time, government has not shown managing institutions, especially business institutions, to make profit. But if these refineries are handed over to individuals, to investors, whether international or domestic investors, I think the refineries will work, because these investors would have sunk money into it, and they would want to recover their monies and make profit. Therefore, they must be prudent in their management. They must make the management to work in such a way that the refineries will produce, and of course, we make profits for them to smile to bank. And of course, getting such organizations, such refineries sometimes requires loan from financial institutions. So they must have to work and repay these loans and all that. And how do you do that? If these crude are sold to these refineries at home here, the idea of exporting, exportation prices and all that, the importation prices of this crude is not there. It is from there you distribute your refined products, just like Dangote is doing. And that is why presently Dangote sells cheaper than those who are importing fuel. If you go to the filling station, MRS, where Dangote distribute through, they sell much cheaper than this other one. Today, people have started even selling 900 and this was the same fuel that sold 810, and then MRS selling 700 and all that. But today, it is gone up. This is because Dangote cannot all supply fuel for the domestic consumption in Nigeria for all Nigerians. Therefore, the importers' prices will continue to high up, whatever.
All right, thank you very much for that. Now we'll be taking a look at our next paper for today, coming from the Guardian newspaper, where the headline reads, How Universities Must Produce Research Without Solutions to Societal Ills. A new analysis is questioning why Nigerian universities are producing large volumes of research with little impact on real-life problems. Experts argue that many academic studies are driven by promotion requirements rather than practical solutions, leaving critical societal issues such as health, agriculture, and infrastructure largely unaddressed. The report calls for closer collaboration between universities, industries, and government to turn research into real change.
All right, Mr. Rice, let me bring you again into this. We are speaking to the educational institution in Nigeria, and over time, a lot of us has lent our voices to the quality of research coming out from our higher institutions and the graduates that we turn out yearly. Just recently, it is the data available to us shows that over 600,000 Nigerian graduates will be participating in the National Youth Service Scheme. What do you say to this news headline?
Okay, we know that Nigeria universities have been churning out graduates, and we do not have a commensurate number of jobs to absorb these graduates. And that is a problem to this country. These people come out, they go on service, go to various places. And of course, especially now there's enormous insecurity challenges in this country. They put their lives online to serve the nation. Yet, at the end of the day, there are no jobs. You see about 5,000 graduates writing applications to secure, about 10 jobs in an organization. And so on and so forth. Remember when there were the customs were going to, was this custom or immigration, were going to recruit some people, and some people died in the process because people died of stampede, because so many people were there looking for jobs. So it's a problem. Then we talk about the research in our public institutions. Now, you are researching, even the newspaper report says some of these research are driven by promotion ideas by the researchers. Promotion, but I do not want to accept that they are driven by that. I want to tell us that this is a place of poor economy. Poor in the sense that investors who has the money to take the patent of these research materials. A lot of people came out with ideas. I know SEDI is a research institute, Science Equipment Development Institute, SEDI. It did a research on a single engine, but nobody came up to buy over these products, so that it will now open a company, an engineering company that will produce these engines and sell worldwide. Who has the money to do that investment? And what are the chances that if you begin to do it, or produce it, the energy cost of producing it will be high, which means the engines imported from China and other Asian countries will be much cheaper. And you are not going to guarantee that what you have, your product, is stronger, or your product has greater advantage than those products that are coming. Even if it has greater advantage, people want something that is manageable and cheap so as to make ends meet for themselves. Therefore, the investors are not there to begin to buy the patents of research products. A lot of research work has been done. If you go to the trade fair, some of the trade fairs across Nigeria, you see many works, researches that has been done by some eggheads. Who has done that? Who has? Okay, when you see, younger persons, people who are even doing helicopter and all that, younger people doing all these machineries, prototypes and so on. Has Nigeria been able to gather these people together and open an incubation center and call in professors to train these people and make them to begin to develop these things for possible, investors to come in and buy into it and patent it, so that these people will begin to earn their research rights and all that. Who is doing that? They are everywhere. Do you know there is electricity generation without fuel? Somebody can generate electricity with water. Water. I'm not talking about hydroelectricity. I'm talking about water, using water to run an engine, not by building a dam, but just pouring water, and he uses it to run an engine that will begin to give you electricity. Who has got into that? Somewhere in Aba, somebody did that and tested it, and even building same for people. But government is supposed to help these things to grow into a big manufacturing venture, so that Nigerians will be employed in that sector.
Thank you very much for that. Now moving over to our last paper for today, coming from the Nation newspaper, where the major headline reads, Senate takes steps to fast-track Electoral Act 2022 amendment. Now in the Nation paper, the Senate has moved to fast-track amendments to the Electoral Act 2022, signaling urgency as preparations quietly begin ahead of future elections. Lawmakers say the plan changes aim to close identified gaps in the law, improve election transparency, and address challenges observed during recent polls. The movement suggests the National Assembly is keen to fine-tune the electoral framework early, rather than rush reforms at the last minute.
Mr. Harris, when we talk about the issue of the electoral amendment bill in the legislature, the Senate has come under a lot of criticism when it comes to the speed at which they are moving. A lot of critics say that they slowed the process down, especially where we've seen that the House of Representatives has concluded their own part, when it comes to the electoral bill, and all eyes are on the Senate. And over time, even yesterday, yes, we did critique their approach, but we've seen that they moved into a 3-hour section yesterday where they were trying to expedite action to see to the review of these electoral acts. And they've set up a committee. The part of members of this committee one is the Senate Committee Chairman on Judiciary, speaking to NII, and we'll have Adams Oshomole as a member of that committee as well. You have Danjuma Goje and former governor of Sokoto State, Governor His Excellency Tambua as part of the committee that has been charged to expedite action, in reviewing the very nitty-gritty of these Electoral Act amendments. And I want to ask you, don't you think, like I did mention, that a lot of analysts, including myself, um, feel that by now we should have, had in place an electoral act that would enable the INEC come up with a timetable, a workable timetable, and for every citizen and those who participate in the next election to know the direction, especially given the crisis that we witnessed in 2023 when it comes to Rivers and IRF. At least we should know by now the position of the law on these whole issues. And more, encouraging is some of the, things that we expected to see in the proposed Electoral Act if the repeal and the enactment of the 2025, sails through. And part of such thing is that we are going to see electronically generated voter cards featuring unique QR codes under the new framework. The electronic transmission of polling unit results would become mandatory, and the voting franchise will be extended to eligible prison inmates. What do you say to this?
That is primarily, let me start from the first one you said. The expectation of Nigerians is that the results of the elections should be uploaded to IREV during collection, the paper collection. The uploading should also equally go on. And that is one of the biggest expectations, because that was exactly what caused a problem to the 2023 election. It resulted in the court cases, claims and counterclaims, and even INEC on their own said there was a problem, and that problem couldn't be solved. While the other elections were uploaded in the IREF, that of presidential election, they said, they used the word glitch. And was there a glitch, really? That is exactly what so many Nigerians are still thinking about. There are a lot of proposals. The Senate had been dormant with, coming up with the amendment of the Electoral Act, but just yesterday they have sat and they're speeding up that. They have set up the committee in question. The committee is almost an all-governors committee, all former governors committee who are senators, except for Tony Woye and the other. Of course, the secretary, the clerk of the House is going to be the secretary of that committee. And they're going to jointly sit with the judicial committee of the Senate so as to look at the legal gray areas and ensure that these things are, of course, done. But you see, this bill is still in process. We are not even very sure that the priority area by Nigerians, a priority area of uploading to IREV, and then, in short, involving technology in our electoral system, so that everything about card reader is off, and beavers and uploading will now be the intent. Now, we are not even sure that these things are going to be made law. But if they are made law, that is, of course, a very good thing for people to begin to have confidence in our electoral system, believing that you can only rig elections. Excuse me. You can only rig elections at the polling units. You can no longer manipulate the result of elections anywhere. So there are other things like jail terms for those who refuse to upload for instance, the supervising officers and whoever, the ad hoc workers, ANEKE ad hoc workers who refuse to do that, 10 years, and those who are not even qualified to run an election or forge documents to run an election, we have about 5 million fine, and so on and so forth. There are so many things they are trying to actually put together. I think if they put together, we'll still look at it and we'll continue. This it is a dynamic situation. We'll continue to look at our laws. And as we go on, if any law is seen no longer important and no longer fruitful to Nigeria, that law will be abrogated and we'll make new ones. The National Assembly will make new ones.
Thank you very much for that in-depth analysis.
All right, thank you very much for that. And this is all for today's newspaper review. Do not forget that you could grab physical copies from any of your favorite vendor or catch the paper online for more further information. And up next is our sports update from the man himself. Good hope, the sports oracle. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning. Like I have greeted earlier, today in sports we have Samuel Chukwueze's mom. She died yesterday after a brief illness. That was in the news just yesterday, and NFF, Nigerian Football Federation, and his teammates, of course, people he has played with, has sent in their condolences, strengthening him and wishing him the comfort of God, and trying to encourage him to stay strong, even as he has returned to Fulham to continue his loan spell from AC Milan. And I don't know, just a few days ago we heard that DD2 lost the dad. We had to talk about it here. Mr. Rex, I don't know how this is really coming after AFCON, and we are having our Super Eagles, some of them losing their. Are we to say that is there something behind this? This one is not accident, of course, but this one is just a brief illness.
Well, death is a shorten, is a necessary end, according to Julius Caesar, and we end come when it will come. Death is a necessary end and will come when it will come. We do not know when the death of anybody will occur and by what means. Some people die in the waters, some people die during road accidents, and so on and so forth. Some others get ill and get died. So we are here in ANEKE TV, we are wishing the souls of the departed all to rest in peace, and we extend our condolences to our two Super Eagles players who have lost their very own. I think there's nothing better than that. We continue to pray for the repose of their souls.
Okay, yes, we continue to pray for the repose of their souls. Still on the news and around sports, we're talking about Anthony Joshua has been begged from the Nigerian boxers. They have made a formal plea for him to come back to boxing. You know that the Nigerian British boxer, he said that he's retiring from boxing due to the event, the fatal accident that happened on 29th of December that took the life of two of his associates. Even yesterday, he came out to say that he is looking at this as life and other things that are surrounding it, that one day it will be his turn. But the Nigerian professional boxers, not really professional boxers, but more like in a boxing conglomerate, has come out to say that please, you have to come back to boxing. And their leader has said that he also needs to understand that he's young. Of course, like I said in the sports show, he actually has the time and he is still young. He can channel the energy to something else, and it is up to him to know what he really wants to do right now, because I'm sure that he will be up and doing, and he must have, if you watch the video and his reactions also will tell you that he is getting better. He's recovering from that tragic event that took the lives of his associates. Now, still on the news, Iheanacho has returned from a season-long injury to play for Celtic, the match they played yesterday. And we are expecting our very own Nigerian-born Iheanacho to continue his game in Celtic. He went from Sevilla, he went from Leicester City. You would actually know that Iheanacho played Leicester City many years ago, where he moved from Leicester to Sevilla, and he really would not or have not worked out for him in Sevilla. Then he had to move to Celtic, where he has been on injury. I'm talking about hamstring injury, one of the injuries that could keep a player out of the game for a while. And right now, he is back to make it in the play. Still on the news, Serena Williams is set to make a return to the tennis game that he has been playing for years. She's 44 years old, and she has been. There has been this rumor about her and the doping team submitting the test and all that. But she granted an interview, but she said that it could not. That she's looking forward to coming back to this game, even though that it is not certain. And the way she was talking in the interview, you could see that she was just trying to, malinga, so that nobody will come and hold her and say, you say you are coming back this time, but you are not yet back. Now, yesterday was Europa League, and some of the teams have qualified for the next round, and the matches yesterday, they were very cool. Aston Villa came from behind to win Salzburg, and same in the yesterday game, you would see that there are some of the fixtures which we have had, and right now Nottingham Forest, they look very disorganized a little in the Premier League, but they started getting back themselves as they drew the game with Arsenal. Of course, I wanted to ask Mr. Rex again how Arsenal are looking at him being an Arsenal fan. He would tell us what they're expecting this season. And I want to ask him specially, what if Arsenal, what if they did not win any trophy as they have been promising to do for other years? What will happen?
Of course, Arsenal has been there for over 100 years. They will continue to be Arsenal.
Okay.
And of course, those who are diehard fans of Arsenal will remain diehard fans of Arsenal.
Okay.
So there's nothing, nobody will die because Arsenal was unable to win a trophy for this season.
Okay.
But I believe that certainly a trophy will come.
Okay, well, Arsenal is looking very positive, and me, I believe a lot of people all around the world are believing. I think Mr. Uche has something to say about this Arsenal.
No, I have nothing to say. But when you see the positivism of Arsenal fans, it makes one to at least smile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just stop at that.
Do you think this season
the owner of Liverpool at one point, when Arsenal added $1 to the price of Luis Suarez, he asked at that time, what are they smoking there at Arsenal? And the question one may want to ask again, why do they have faith and believe that this time around they will come home with trophies?
Okay, well, they will come home with trophies, and I believe that this time around it will be something, either the Champions League or the Premier League, or they are all in all competitions as I'm talking to you right now. But Manchester City is right behind Arsenal, and it could be a game. It could be as it has been always. Well, I want to bring you how it is going to happen. Just in the Nigerian Professional Football League, this weekend we have a lot of fixtures that are coming, and in the Premier League, same with the French League. But I think we have to look at the Nigerian Professional Football League, how it will be happening. Rangers are hosting at home. Same with the other teams. You're going to see that Barao FC are going to play Ikorodu City, and Economy, they're going to play Kun Khalifa. Enyimba is going to host Bayelsa United. Kwara United will host at home Warri Wolves. Niger Tornadoes will host Bendel Insurance. Rangers International of Enugu, they are going to be in Enugu to host Kano Pillars, and that could be the star match of the week. And also talking about Remo Stars hosting Plateau United. Shooting Stars of Akure, they are going to host Rivers United, and Wiki Tourist, they are going to host their guides on their home. And moving over to the English Premier League, where you're going to have a lot of fixtures coming, including Manchester United, Arsenal, and Chelsea too, hosting their own games. And you will see that Brighton, they are going to host Everton, Leeds are going to host Arsenal, the same Arsenal we're talking about. Arsenal, we are talking about you people, and we hope that you don't bottle this league, because if not, here will not be conducive for me and you and the sports oracle, because I am seeing this match as something that would be Arsenal is playing young teams now, so it's going to be a lot of cases. Well, we are going down to Wolves and Bournemouth and Chelsea. Chelsea is doing well. We are looking at them to carry on with their winning spree, and we are seeing Liverpool again playing against Newcastle. This match is going to be very tough, because Newcastle will not let Liverpool get their next point, while Liverpool will not let Newcastle to get any point. Both of them could end the game draw, because Liverpool, we have seen how they have been playing now. Looking down, you could see Paris FC against Marseille and the Laurent FC against Nantes. And this is how it is going to be. And this is how it's going to be this weekend. When we come on Monday, we're going to carry it along and we'll tell you how it was. Thank you very much for that.
All right. Thank you very much for that sports update. And moving over to the business update, we'll take a look at the Nigerian stock market update for yesterday, Thursday, January 29th, 2026. And we can tell you that the all share index, ASI, climbed by 0.22% to close at 165,527.31 points. The positive movement reversed yesterday's dip, pushing the year-to-date again to approximately 6.36%. Market capitalization also improved, ending the session at roughly 105.98 trillion naira. The trading was characterized by a heady mix of bargain hunting in the mid-large cap stocks, though market breadth remained somewhat competitive between advancers and decliners. And then let's take a look at the top 5 gainers. As of yesterday, we're looking at RT Briscoe closing trading yesterday at 7 naira 15 kobo, making a positive adjustment of 10%. And we're seeing Scoa equally on that list, closing trading yesterday at 31 naira 60 kobo, making a plus 9.91% positive adjustment. And next on that list is Deep Capital, which closed trading at 10 naira 43 kobo, equally on the plus 9.91% positive adjustment. And we're seeing Veritas Cap closing trading yesterday at 2 naira 23 kobo, equally making a plus 9.85 positive adjustment. And then moving over to the top 5 losers, and we are seeing HM Call leading that pack with 3 naira 94 kobo as at the closing of the market yesterday, making a negative minus 9.84% adjustment. We are seeing Union Daikon on that list as well, closing trading yesterday at 8 naira 75 kobo, making a negative adjustment of 9.79%. We are seeing UPL equally closing trading yesterday at 5 naira 75 kobo, making a minus 8% negative adjustment. And we are equally seeing Austin Lars on that list, closing its trading yesterday at 3 naira 70 kobo, equaling the negative of minus 7.50%. And then Veritas Capital and Fertilizers were among the most active stocks yesterday by volume, reflecting high investor interest in the insurance and consumer services. And then let's take a look at the Naira performance, equally as at yesterday, which see the Naira continuing steady appreciation against the US dollar in both the official and informal market. And the official market yesterday, the Naira opened at 1,395 Naira 9 kobo and closing at 1,388 naira 98 kobo as against the dollar, while at the parallel market the naira opened at 1,482 naira to close at 1,470 naira 61 kobo as against the dollar. And when we take a look at the naira, we'll see that the naira gained significantly, breaking below the 1,390 mark to close at approximately 1,388.98, which represents a notable improvement from the closure from the previous day, signaling a strong liquidity in the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange market. And that is it for the business of the day this morning.
All right, thank you very much for that. And this is a wrap on today's edition of Sunrise. It's always a pleasure having you here with us every morning from Mondays to Friday. And thank you for joining us on Sunrise every day. I am Deborah Wakaba.
And thank you, Mr. Ress, for those in-depth analysis. It's always a pleasure to have you here on Sunrise.
Thank you, Mr. Sai.
And to you, Mr. Goodhope, the mental mechanic, the man of many parts. It's always a pleasure to have you here on Sunrise.
Thank you very much.
All right. And I'm Uche Ossai. Remember, you're not here to be average. Be unique. Keep watching ANEKE TV till we come your way same time next week. Bye-bye.